And get us started. Welcome, everyone. This is a session on making digital citizenship engaging with Padlet and Common Sense. We're really excited to have this session with you all today. Digital citizenship is such a fundamental part of our world now and of our students' lives. And we really appreciate the curriculum that Common Sense has been building for so many years now. My background has been as a teacher for many years, and I have used the Common Sense curriculum for so many years. And it's been really exciting to see how it's evolved and how it can integrate with so many different digital tools. So we're really excited to talk about that with Sue today, and really appreciative that Sue can join us to talk about the Common Sense lessons, some of the new things they're doing. So my name is Zareen Levien. I'm the professional learning specialist at Padlet. We also have Tosh, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Tosh. I'm the customer support manager. I've been at Padlet for 3 years. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat and I'll be able to help out today. So thanks for having us, Sue.
Wait a minute, I'm crashing your party. You guys are the hosts. Like, thanks for having me. I'm the invited guest here today. My name is Sue Thotz, and I'm the Director of Outreach at Common Sense Education. And I have Kristen Orpeza, who is in the chat as well. I just noticed that she's joining here today. So if there's any questions or any support that anybody has related to Common Sense, she's also here to be able to help out as well. I'm sure I'll have Jennifer Ehalt popping in at some point too, if she's not already here. So we have some other folks here. Yeah, should we get started, Zareen, or what do you want to? Yeah, are we good to go? All right, excellent. Well, Zareen is sharing today's slide deck. So everything that we are doing today, all the resources that are from Common Sense. If you're unfamiliar, Common Sense is a nonprofit organization, and all of our resources that we have for educators and for families it's all free. So any of the lessons that I'm showing you today, or any of the resources that we're sharing from the Common Sense side, are all available to you. They're all located at commonsense.org, and any of the resources that we have today that are you can click on and join in and jump in and participate to whatever capacity you all feel like you're comfortable. Of course, I know some of you are driving or recording or watching the recording at some point, but participate in as much as you feel comfortable participating in. So we're going to get started. So my agenda today is very simple. I'm going to go through a few lessons. I'm going to go through one that is for 6th through 12th graders that relates to digital wellness. We have a whole collection of digital wellness lessons, and I feel like this is a great one to just kind of get started and think about what are your personal values, or the values within your community, and how does technology influence those values. Another lesson that we're going to be doing is about plagiarism. And AI use, which is always kind of a hot debate, and is fun to think about, and a great one to use with your staff or use with your students, to just kind of level set and figure out what your communication is about, where your line is, how much can be student created and how much can be AI created in your classroom. And then the last one is about privacy and facial recognition. And so we're going to try to get to all three of these today. We're just kind of use the Padlet to modify our lessons that we have at Common Sense. And we hope that you all will jump in and try it with us. So that's what we've got going on. And if you have any questions or need anything, drop it in the chat, because we got a lot of folks who really love answering questions. And Zareen, feel free to jump in at any point. So as I said, this lesson is about my values and how technology influences our ability to exhibit those values. And so maybe it's not something that you get the chance to talk with your students about every day or your families about, but we think that it's something important for us to think about as we move forward, especially in this very tech-rich world. So, the essential question that we're dealing with is, how does media and technology impact our values, right? So, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the Padlet and see what happens, right? So if you wanted to, I also, I'm sure I could get Kristen to, Kristen can, or anybody can drop in the Padlet, but you can see the full lesson at commonsense.org, and you can see all the resources there that Kristen dropped in there. But I'm going to take you to this Padlet, and we're going to see how I modified this lesson. Oh, man, I love this. This is so fun. By the way, I'm just going to be very honest here. I am new to some of these features. And so I'm going to be stumbling around a little bit today and sharing some of these ideas that we have in this new platform for me, right? I'm not new to Padlet. I'm new to some of these features. Like, for example, I'm new to this ability to share this thing as a slide, which is kind of exciting, right? So this is the cover of my lesson plan that I have here today. And what I want to do is I want to show you, well, first of all, I don't know, I just shared this with somebody today that you can share this almost as a presentation. How thrilling is that? All right. So that's exciting as a presenter. What I wanted to show you here is if you are in the Padlet with us, what I'd like to share is that each of these values that we have listed are in here as a post, right? So I went ahead as a teacher and shared some values that we have written from Common Sense, such as connection or balance, authenticity, hard work, gratitude, emotional health, and kindness. So I'm going to hide everything else here, and I'm just going to say, all right, let's see if we can just see these ones for now, right? So we don't get confused. Oh, shoot. Sorry, hold on. See, there I go again. All right, so we're just going to share some of these values. And if you're in this Padlet, I'd like you to go through and I'd like you to identify 5 values. And what I mean by that is give it a like if it's one of the 5 values that you most identify with at this moment right now, right? What are the things that you find to be most important to you in this moment? So if you're able to, authenticity is a hot topic right now. Authenticity, hard work, gratitude, emotional health. All right, I gotta get rid of my weekly report. Kindness, and so on, right? If you find 5 in here that you think are most valuable to you, or the other option that I wanted to share with you is if you also see one, if you also have a value that you yourself, I'm somehow missing a couple of values. If you yourself like see something in here that you're not, or have a value that you're not seeing, you yourself can add it, right? So whatever value, so right now I'm not seeing in here. There's one that I don't see in here, and that is, oh, there they are. I was gonna say physical health. Physical health is one that I find to be very important. So I'm gonna like that one. But is there one in here that you don't see that you find valuable? You can go ahead and add that as well if you are not finding one on there. So I'm going to give you a couple more seconds as my students in here to like your particular values. Zareen, which of these values did you find to be at least important to you right now in this moment?
It was really hard to choose, but I chose
You
connection,
get 5.
authenticity. Yeah, even with 5, it was hard to choose. Kindness, authenticity, open-mindedness stood out to me.
Yeah.
There were a lot of good ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know there's a way. You tell me, isn't there a way that I can rank these, that I can show which ones have gotten the most popular? Isn't there a way that I can do this? Can't I show which ones are most popular?
Yeah,
Yes.
you can if you sort your posts. I believe
So
you
I
can
can
do
sort my
this
posts.
through so right now you're actually in the post filter section, but if you
Okay.
go out of this
Uh-huh.
and click scroll to the right a little bit, your screen's a little small, so it's not
Ah,
showing
here.
everything on the right side.
Got
But if
it.
you click on the settings cog there
Yep.
and scroll down to sort
Sort
by,
by.
and sort
Look
by
at this.
votes. And then
Magical.
just make
So,
sure you click save.
oh, did I not click save? Okay, hold on. Let me see. I gotta sort again. So I gotta sort by votes. I did it. So I didn't click
Cool,
save,
it did
but
save.
somehow it saved automatically for me. All right. So now I, as a teacher, can see which ones were most popular. Ding, ding, ding. See, I just learned something. Connection, right? Connection is the biggest one that everybody in this room feels like is most important. Kindness, number 2, authenticity, and so on, right? Balance. So these are the ones that folks find to be the most important to them. So if I'm with my students, sometimes it's overwhelming to to be able to do this in a room and like be able to say these out loud. But of course, if you are a student who can do this anonymously, you're going to do, you might be able to go through and click the ones that you think are most important or add those to for yourself, right? The other thing, and of course, in here, I want you guys, of course, sharing your top 3 values. So a couple, Sally and Sadie have already kind of put theirs in there. I, as a teacher, could also limit their ability to go through and do these right now, right? As well, if I wanted to like hold that one back. But it's cool because we're all friends in here today and there's just a few of you. And of course, if I wanted to have you name your top 3 values, or maybe add one that you didn't see up there, I could have you share a post that tells me about your top 3 values. And the other thing I could do is I could ask you to go back and tell me why, right? Like why, if we wanted to do this, I could ask you to add a little bit more, or I could say, throw in a GIF in there that tells me about who you are and why, why you pick these top 3 values right now at this moment. Maybe you're frazzled and balance is something that's very important to you. Or I could ask you to show me a picture or do something like that. Do I have those turned off right now or do I have it on? You have the ability? Oh,
Yep.
there you go. Thanks, Zareen. All right, cool. So if I said, like, if you're my students and I said, give me a gift that illustrates why you picked one of your top 3 values or all 3 of these values, right? I could have you express a little bit more about why those top 3 values are important to you. All right. So now this is where the real stuff comes in. All right. When we're talking about digital well-being and the way in which experiencing media and technology supports our mental health, our physical health, and our social emotional health, right? Sometimes technology is bad for us, right? This morning, you should have seen me like sitting here on my phone trying to coordinate like the 15, appointments that I had today that I had to like change, move, cancel, do everything. And it was stressing me out, right? And I did not want to be doing this. Some days we get a little bit stressed. Some days we get a little bit overwhelmed. We are, we're saddened when we see certain posts that make us feel like we're missing out. I mean, there's lots of emotions. There's lots of things that, or, if you're like me and you like to sit around and watch Netflix in the evening and, somehow you get caught binge watching for 4 hours, probably not very good for my physical health, right? To stay up late and binge watch instead of going to sleep, right? So there are some times that technology gets in our way, right? Of our values that we have. So when we think about, some of these ideas, one of the things that I wanted you all to do as students is perhaps I could get you to write a statement. So first of all, I'm going to do this. This is the statement that this is the sentence stem that we can start with. I care about insert value here. I pick a value that you care about, but technology makes it harder because of this reason, right? So I just named a couple of ways in which technology makes it harder. The other statement you could choose is you could say, I care about connection, as all of you have. Technology can help because, well, maybe sometimes it can hurt, right? Because sometimes we're sitting here looking at our phones when we're hanging out with our friends. But sometimes it can help because I've got friends across the world. And oh my gosh, it's so amazing to be able to see all of their families. So I want you to think about this and add to this Padlet and share with me how technology can either hurt or help your ability to exhibit this value of yours. All right. So we're going to take a moment. We're going to do this and we're going to see what you all think. I identify with that, Chris.
Sue, while people are kind of putting some statements together, I wonder if you could just show people where they could add an image or something else if they wanted to. So if you want to hit on the plus sign as though you're adding a post.
Like this. Yeah. So maybe some of you all are not as familiar with Padlet as some others might be. And so of course, we are here playing around. And of course you can't mess this up, by the way. I don't care if you come in and like put pluses anywhere. This is just for demonstration purposes today. So I hope all of you are just jumping in and playing around with this Padlet. Don't feel like you're going to mess. If you put it in the wrong section, I don't care, right? Whatever. Jump in here and just play around. Try seeing what happens when you put in, of course, Kristen and Zareen have set a great precedent by putting their name in the subject line. And you can add all kinds of stuff. So if I click the 3 dots, oh my goodness, I can use my camera. I can use my video recorder. I can ask my students to, if they don't feel like typing, if they don't feel like texting, they can record themselves to share what their thoughts are around this. They can use an audio recorder. They can draw, they can, use the screen recorder order. They can add a GIF, as we noticed. They can add a YouTube link, right? Like whatever. But of course, is there anything else I should point out?
No, those are great.
An
Yes.
image?
Yeah.
Image search, right? So you can see my history of like the things that I have searched for. I've searched for Sue. Don't know how that happened, but you can say, of course, I want to say something in here. I want to have an image of someone smiling, right? I can search for a GIF of that. I can search for an image of that, right? Someone smiling. I don't know, like this, right? Maybe this is something that I want to insert in here, and when I do that, I, of course, want to hit publish after I can add a caption. I can write my own piece down here. And this is how I feel sometimes, definitely, right? About this is the way that technology makes me feel. I'm kind of fake smiling sometimes whenever I'm using the technology because I'm really hurting on the inside. Technology. I love this. So you all can see what other folks have written, right? I care about connections, and tech makes it easier for me to see my granddaughter. Excellent. Oh man, that's a good one, right? You turned one yesterday, but lives in Amsterdam, all the way around the world. I have family on the other side of the world, and when I was a kid, we had to wait for real pictures and airmail, right? And any phone call was like $1 bajillion, but this, oh my gosh, it makes it so much easier, right? I care about authenticity, but tech makes it harder because we only see what people want us to see. Yep, absolutely. So sometimes that is hard. Yeah. So we can scroll across here. Oops, I'm pulling all this out. I'm having trouble getting back and forth. There we go. I'll use the bar down there, right? I care about human rights, but tech makes it harder because algorithms not good at that. I care about human rights, and tech can help because we can connect different experiences. Absolutely. Oh, these are fabulous. Thanks, folks. Connections are really important, not only with family and friends, but with your community as well. And sometimes you can really get involved. All right. So you guys are all, I assume many of you are adults. But you can imagine how your students are able to just think about the impacts, the pros and the cons of technology on their own mental health, on their physical health, on the values that they share, right? So tech can help because I can record my feelings, thoughts, and physical progress by other elements of my being by keeping track on an app. That's something I hadn't even considered, Raquel. These are great. So thank you all so much for sharing. I hope this is kind of helpful to you. And I hope you're there's way more than this, right? I'm just doing a very simple version of this lesson today, but I'm sure Zareen could work her magic and give you 55 other examples of ways to use that Padlet, right? So that's one way that I saw it being helpful for some of the work that we do. So the whole idea is like, we want our students to thrive in a digital world. This isn't just about using technology. This is about the ways in which we use the technology to help us be the best humans that we can be, to connect with each other, to share with each other, to be kind, and all that good stuff, right? So we need to get our students to help thinking about this. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to try this lesson. How's everything going, by the way? I'm going to pause for a second. Are we all here? I'm not looking at the chat. If there's something that's important in the chat, bring it to my attention. I have a tiny screen today, so I'm doing my best to pay attention and keep the trains running right now. So anything else, Zareen?
No, looking good. But yeah, please feel free to put any questions in the chat if anything occurs to you, if you're wondering anything as we go along here.
All right. So this is a lesson that we wrote at Common Sense, this spring, I think is when it came out. And I've done this lesson quite a few times with different teachers as well, and administrators, as well as some students. So, this is just a screenshot of what the front of the lesson looks like. And the idea is, what is the impact of artificial intelligence and on how we learn and create, right? So, the heart of this lesson, this isn't the whole lesson. We talk about what is artificial intelligence and so on, but the heart of the lesson is what we call an original author dilemma, right? So it's a digital dilemma. And if you all were in my classroom, so before we read this, if you all were in my classroom, I would have some of you, on one side of the room, if you think it's okay for Ada to use this, and some of you on the other side of the room, if you think that it's not okay. And then those who are in between are standing kind of somewhere in between physically. I'm going to read this dilemma, and then we're going to try to use a Padlet to see if we can kind of represent that spectrum and maybe some of the arguments that we have for why we're positioned in this position or in this spot. We're going to try to do it on a Padlet, even though we're not in the same room. All right. So here's the dilemma. Ada has a writing assignment due tomorrow. She's a procrastinator like me, and she hasn't started writing. She heard on social media about a tool that can create an outline or even an entire paper using a single prompt. She decides to use the tool to help her finish the assignment on time. She types the assignment prompt into the tool, and the tool generates a 5-paragraph essay. Ada reviews the essay and that the tool wrote. She changes a few words throughout the paper, right? She reviews it, she edits, and she writes a new conclusion paragraph based on the information she learned in class. Ada submits the assignment to the teacher on time. Was it okay for Ada to use this tool for the assignment? All right. So, by the way, since I've been asking this question, people have very much changed their thoughts. I've seen a lot of spectrum shift since last spring. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the Padlet. And so I have the link here, and I'm sure somebody's going to drop it into the chat to get us all there. And all I did, I'll show you how I made it. But first, let's go look at it. But I feel like it's magic what I just did to make this thing. Here is the Padlet that I made. I copied the dilemma. I put the word dilemma as my title for the Padlet. And then in the description of what my Padlet has, I put the dilemma, the prompt underneath here, right? And then what I want all of you to do is I want you to add, was it okay for the Ada use this tool for the assignment? I want you to add your own thoughts, like, whatever your name is, maybe like, Sue, if you want to put your name in there, and then say, not okay because of these reasons that I'm going to outline, right? And then you say all your reasons. So if I say it's not okay, or maybe I say sorta okay because of these reasons, right? So I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to hit publish. And here is my statement. I'm going to put it, I can grab that statement and I can put it on the left-hand side and say, yeah, totally okay. Or I can put it kind of like sort of okay, and I can set her here. Or I can put it somewhere on the spectrum. You can stack anywhere on this page here. So if there's a bunch of people who are right in the middle, you can all be in the middle. That's okay, right? You just stack them on top of each other. But I want your reasoning for why you're placing it. This is where if we were in a classroom, this is where your body would be, right? Sort of okay. I like you, Jennifer. Okay, if she's doing this, you can stack on top of mine, right? So I'm gonna delete mine and get mine out of there. Or I guess I could do that. I can delete my post, right? Yep, delete my post. So I'm gonna get it out of there and give you guys more room. All right. So you can just play around and see if you can move your post. We'll see if this works because I haven't tried this yet with any actual people. So maybe it's gonna be a total crowded, jumble together and it won't work at all. But let's give it a shot.
And just to add a couple other ideas, if you were doing this with a bigger group and you felt like you needed more space, you might do just their name or something, and then that might be the jumping off point for a conversation. So you say, okay, I noticed these people are all the way over on okay, these people are over all the way on no way. It might help you talk about it and know people's positions kind of with the graph before you call on them.
You know what? Another thing that I was thinking about is I would want, if I had real students, like, okay, you guys are all adults, so you guys are, I'm assuming, so you guys are pretty confident in your abilities here, but students sometimes are very hesitant to stick their neck out and make a call on this or something if they may, or about anything that's kind of tricky. What I would do is I would put the content moderation on this and I would hold everybody's answers until everybody had submitted, or 95% of my kids had submitted, and then could I post them all at once so that they don't see each other until then. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I love that capability. It allows everyone that kind of think time. And we know we're also influenced by our peers. I think even as I was typing mine, I saw Jennifer's and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And so just to give them all that independent think time and then have the big reveal makes it kind of exciting too for students to say, oh, you're over there, I'm over here. So I love that idea.
Yeah. So, I think, I wasn't sure how this was going to work. I like the idea of the little name or, just the name so you can see where people are. But at the same time, what I love about the in-person part is I love the conversation. I love hearing people and seeing why they put that answer there, right? So, maybe there's an initial, like, how do you feel? And then maybe we reconsider. So I'm just going to show you something real quick. Here, I'm going to jump back over to the slideshow. There is some questions that I have, right? So if I were to have, I know some people are still on the Padlet, but if I said, what if Ada cited the tool as a resource in her assignment, right? Could I have you grab your post and then say, okay, what if she cited it as a resource? Would you feel differently? Would you slide? Would you move your post somewhere else? So part of it is like, now I can have you adjust if she cited the tool as a resource, right? So now it's like, maybe everybody shifts one direction, right? What if I said, Ada used the tool to create an outline, but then she wrote the whole paper herself? Does that change your perspective, right? Or what if Ada's teacher used the same tool to give students feedback on their essays, right? Is that okay for the teachers to use it, right? So, in real life, I have people adjust their position. Could we have people adjust their position on this dilemma too, right? So just another idea or a way to use this. I'm sure you could come up with other ideas as well, right? Is that kind of fun? We'll see. And by the way that I got this Ada okay, no way was I made this graphic on my slide, on my Google slideshow. I took a screenshot, and then I used that screenshot as, how did I do that? Did I do a settings and then I put in the wallpaper? Yep, I put it in as wallpaper. So I uploaded it as my wallpaper image. When I hit wallpaper, I said, I want custom wallpaper. And then I uploaded my screenshot that I was using. And that's how I got that back there. So I'm sure you guys could come up with like a gradient of some kind or something kind of fancy, or make it so that like, you're in hot water or you're not in hot water. I don't know. So I'm sure somebody's much more clever than me, but that's what I did on this time. So I for my first day. So that's what I did.
While you're in settings there, actually, could you bring up settings again?
Yeah.
I
Of
just wanted to
course.
show that you can play around with this as well. If you scroll down a little bit, you can show author and timestamp, right, that are under post. So if you chose to have everyone log in, we left this more open. So some people logged in, some people didn't. But that's something you could play around with depending on the discussion too. You could leave it anonymous, and then at a certain point in the conversation, you could show it, or you could just have that information as the teacher if you wanted to stay anonymous. So you have some options in what you show for these discussions.
And I mentioned that content moderation, and that's where like I don't have to approve any of you right now, but I could, manually change it, and so that nobody's post shows up until I say, okay, now it's time for the big reveal. Let's see where everybody's at, right? So that would be kind of fun. I don't know, right? I'm having a good time. I don't know if anybody else is having a good time. I think it's just fun to think about how would I do this with my students and what would make them most comfortable, because sometimes we ask vulnerable questions and I don't want them to feel like they're not in a safe space to be able to share their opinions, because a lot of this digital citizenship stuff is asking some tricky situation kind of questions. And so that's part of why, like I feel like we can be very intentional about making it anonymous, or, having our students share their opinions and, in safe ways, right? So that was that. Anything else that we want to say about?
We just had one comment in the chat that they loved that third what if. I really loved that one too. It kind of flips the whole thinking about it. If the teacher is using the tool, is it okay? And what do we think about that? I love that question too.
By the way, when I first started doing this with teachers, so judgy about like, oh, no, unacceptable, oh, no way. And then, when I asked that third question, then they're like, oh my gosh, that really throws a monkey wrench into it or whatever, right? So it's fun. And yeah, it is a fun way to think about it, or just kind of figure out where that line is, right? Where is it acceptable? What do we do in class? So that's fun. Yeah. All right, let's do this last scenario and see. So this one I have a little bit more trouble with. And so I'm gonna need a little bit more help on this one. So this lesson it's kind of complicated. It's from our AI literacy lessons, and it's about facial recognition and some of the pros and the cons that facial recognition brings to us, as we're using technology. So what are the benefits and what are the risks of facial recognition? It has like examples of facial, like a definition of facial recognition. And, here's an example of unlocking devices with your face. It's an example of artificial intelligence technology called facial recognition. Many of you use it on your phones all the time. It's also used, I just heard an article today about like being able to walk through an airport and never having to show, any identification or anything, because everything is done through facial recognition and you don't have to show your ID in any way. It's just this seamless process. So it can enhance, an efficiency when it comes to the use of some of the technology. But, so it comes with benefits, but it also has risks. And the risks we think most about are related to privacy. And so privacy, if your students don't know, or if you don't know, is about, protection from being observed or tracked by others, having some of your information shared, whether, it's written information, biometric information, all that good stuff. And sharing it with people like government, companies, people who are advertising to you, marketing to you, right? What if they're using your facial recognition and saying, Sue, you look like you could lose some lipstick today because you're very pale, right? Like that kind of stuff. Like, how are they going to use this information? Individuals or groups, right? So how is our biometric and our information being used? So what are some of the benefits or risks? We've put some down for you, right? I'm sure we could have done a little exercise today where we talked about the benefits. Could have used a Padlet for that. Benefits and privacy risks of facial recognition for efficiency's sake today. I just put these in here. But, of course, many of our students use Snapchat filters, unlocking your phone. It could be useful to for protection when we think about Homeland Security and, a lot of these ways in which they use facial recognition as anti-terrorism measures. But definitely could be used against people who disagree with the government or a company, could bombard you with all kinds of company garbage advertising things. And, it could be used to track you and your movements and all this stuff that people kind of get very scared about, right? So how do we balance these risks? And know when a potential technology is risky and how it will affect our privacy. So this is what we want to consider in our classroom today. And this is a scenario that I think many administrators are grappling with, like including, anybody who's trying to bring in some sort of AI. So here we have a situation where Mr. Davis is the principal of a high school, and it's one of the biggest schools in the state. At the beginning of the year, Mr. Davis sent out a survey to find out what the students wanted to improve. And the students said they don't want to be standing in lunch line forever, right? So they want to be able to just get their lunch, sit down and eat. And so right now they have to stand in line to get their lunch. They have to stand in another line to scan their ID so that they can do all this. So while they were looking for some solutions, they received a pitch from a facial recognition company that allowed a system to scan faces, get their lunch, and then they wouldn't have to do the second line, getting students to sit down more quickly to eat. So the question is, let's find out okay, so this is where I'm going to need some help. I put the scenario in there. So what I want out of this, so here's my objective as a teacher. You all have initial responses in your brain, right? You all hear that scenario and you're like, oh, Mr. Davis should totally do this because it helps the students. Or no way, I don't think that this is going to be a good thing. You all have initial responses. So in my Padlet, Zareen, I need some help. What I want you all to be able to put your responses without having to, maybe I should moderate this. Should I moderate this? I'm going to push in the Padlet. Whoop.
Yep.
So I'm going to moderate this, right? Okay,
Yep.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to moderate, right? Hold up. As you all are thinking, okay, I'm going to manually make sure that you all can put this in there. So I want you all to go in and I want you to share your initial response. And that's what we're going to use this moderation for.
That's great. And if you wouldn't mind, why don't you click back to the slide deck as well? Because otherwise we'll see it on your screen if people are looking up there.
Oh, yes. Oh, because I'll be able to see it. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second.
Yeah, or you can share on the screen like you are right now. That's perfect. We can see your slides, but not the Padlet. And then we'll give people a moment to have their initial responses up there.
Okay, so I'm going to see it as the content moderator. I'm going to see your stuff coming up.
Right.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a moment just to give us your initial heck no, terrible idea, Mr. Davis, don't do it, or yes, absolutely, please do that. And maybe give us a little reason why. What is your reason why? All right, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. So whatever you're doing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to go reveal. All right, I'm going to go see. I'm curious. Okay, so so yeah, So I'm going to approve these. So I do this, approve. Some people are me, so that way they don't have to approve. We all share an account. Okay. No, don't do it. Parents should have their right. Thank you. I don't trust this company. I'm a little concerned about privacy and ages of kids. Sounds cool, but I want to ask some questions of the company. What do they do with the student-based pictures? Where do they keep that data? Good question. Cool idea. Lunch lines are the worst. I love this person because they definitely sound like a student. Sounds great. Although what happens if I look exactly like someone else? What if I have a twin, right? Or my doppelganger, right? Yes. Are they going to get charged with my account or with my food? Right. So I love this. Okay. So this is so fun. All right. So let's try that. So now I thought that was successful. If you all were my students, I would feel good. You all can see each other now. Now you can see each other's reasonings. So now as you read through some of these student responses, is there something in there that somebody brought up that you hadn't considered yet, right? Is there a point that somebody made, but maybe I hadn't thought about that point yet. So I want you, I don't have to moderate, I feel like. What had you not considered that other people brought up? So is there something in there that you're like, man, I hadn't considered the student ages and the need for parent approval. I don't need to moderate this now. I'm just going to go ahead and share. I'm going to approve everything, right? So I hadn't considered that. What is another point that somebody brought up that you're like, man, I hadn't thought about that yet, right? So by the way, as you write these, we as humans, we as political humans who live in a very polarized society, who are used to arguing, what I'm trying to teach here is a little bit of civil discourse, right? I want our students to be able to share their opinions, to be able to voice their concerns, to be able to talk about what it is that that they feel. But at the same time, I want them to take the time and understand that other people have very valid points too. And so, I want you to be able to recognize when other people have ideas that you haven't necessarily thought about yet. So that's what I'm trying to get my students to do in this position. So I saw that somebody's asking a question about approving. Did you figure that part out?
Thank you for highlighting that. Yeah, so the
Yeah.
moderator can see who posts the item if you have that privacy setting turned on in terms of you must log in. So right now we have this Padlet open because you're all on this webinar with us. But for a classroom, it's great to have students log in, and then you would always be able to see the owner of the Padlet can see their names, but you can still choose if you want to hide or show that to the whole group.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love this. And then, the last question here is like, how might these new perspectives make you reconsider? All right. So what we're trying to get students is to be flexible and open-minded in their thinking, right? So no students feel necessarily, maybe they do, feel very strongly about facial recognition, right? Or about the use in a lunch line. This may not be the hot topic that will get everybody's their dander up, right? And like, get them all excited about debating this. But what I want students to see other perspectives. And how do you force them to sit down and consider other people's perspectives without argument, right? How do you get them to consider and be thoughtful in their consideration of other people's ideas, right? So that's what I'm trying to illustrate here a little bit. I don't know if it works. Maybe you have a suggestion about how I could do this a little bit differently, right? But it's a 3-step process here, and I want to figure out how to get that initial response, take a look at somebody else's perspective. How might that change your mind, right? Or how might that influence you? Or how might you be better able to understand somebody else's point of view and help it inform your point of view, right? So that's the point of this exercise. Is that kind of fun? I don't know. You don't have to do it, but it's just, I love this. Oh, I don't have to. I'm going to change you all to manual. So I'm going to go down here, or it's from manual to none. I'm going to say none. Oh, by the way, as a third one, not just none, not just manual, there is an auto moderation here that says if it's considered inappropriate. So if any of you decide to put nasty swear words in your stuff, then it will catch it and say, right now, you all can put terrible swear words in there if you really wanted to. And I wouldn't be able to stop you. But if I put it on auto, then it would at least be able to filter out some of your inappropriate content that you're putting in there, right? So thank you all for sharing your deep opinions about facial recognition. And I hope this was kind of illustrative in terms of being able to have your students argue something in a way that is, everybody is heard, right? Every single person in your classroom has an opportunity to share. Everybody has an opportunity to read other people's content, right? And be able to be more open to what that means. So that's the idea of that one. You know, the goal of this activity wasn't to lead us to the right answer. Instead, it's to determine whether facial recognition is useful or risky. We're for you as students, we're learning how to look at the context, who's using it, how it's being used, why, and how people's privacy is affected by it. So this gives you the whole thing about why we're even talking about facial recognition. But today we really want to focus on why we're talking about Padlet. So Zareen, do you have anything that you want to share? What did I share in here? Was this you? Oh, this is what I had to say about Padlet and about the whole idea of that. And I already said it, engaging all students. They can be anonymous, which means that they can be safe. You can do this active listening to each other around tricky topics. And when I mentioned that you can have them record their responses, they can share, images, they can share GIFs. There's multiple ways in which they can express their ideas, express their learning, and share that and be heard by other students, which is a very universal design for learning type principle. So I'm going to.
Thank you so much, Sue. Really great questions. We've been getting some great comments in the chat that people really enjoy engaging with the content in this way. Yeah, and just to summarize and reiterate really what Sue already said, it's a great opportunity to make student thinking visible, but you have a lot of controls in Padlet to make it a safe environment, a welcoming environment, decide when you want to hold back sharing it with everyone, when you want to make things anonymous or visible. And so all of those controls can be kind of fine-tuned along the way with the discussion that you're having, and to really just hear all the voices in the room. That's sometimes hard to get in a live classroom. You'll have your voices who you'll always hear from, and then some who may be quieter. And so this gives it kind of a platform where everyone can put their thinking forward in a safe way. So really glad to see it come to life with these common sense lessons. So just to add a little bit more, we've done a lot of collaborative discussions today on Padlet, and we played a little bit with the choice in expression with adding some images. There's a bunch of other attachment types that we could play with, video and audio, and you can restrict that as well in your settings. If you want to say, I want everyone to put an audio recording up for this prompt, we're going to practice our oral language, or we want to do it in a different format, you can restrict that as well. And sometimes it's great to use Padlet for some individual reflection too. So that's what I linked in here, just an example of maybe you have this group discussion and you have some interactive stuff, and then maybe they have a self-reflection as well, where they think about their own thinking, and that's just shared with you. So you can use Padlet in all of those different ways. And for teachers, you saw a lot of different kind of setups that Sue put together in terms of how you would organize the columns, how you might visually make it interesting with pictures or backgrounds. You could also use it in other ways that aren't with students. So as a teacher collaboration page, maybe I want to brainstorm some ideas together with my grade level team, or even teachers at different schools, and we can have a board that we share together, or things could be shared, of course, across the school or with family. And you can even put students in charge of that. What did you talk about in digital citizenship today? And maybe some students put together a board, put together some highlights, and you could share that out with families.
I was just thinking, like, as you're sharing this, like putting together a board for families, families would love to be able to see what their students are learning as it relates to DigCit. And so students to be able to show that content and be transparent and share that with families would be mind-blowing. I think it would be fabulous. Yeah.
Great. And so, we always get these questions. So we just put together a couple of quick questions that we often get when we're chatting with people and talking about Padlet. So first of all the features that you saw today are also available in the free version. So anyone can make a free account, and you can make 3 Padlets for free with all of the features that we showed you and many other features that we didn't get to today. If you did want more Padlets or even unlimited Padlets, we do have a lot of school subscriptions. We'd be happy to talk with you about that. We have a site here that you can look at. You can schedule a demo or a call there, or share it. If you aren't the purchaser, you could share it with your principal or somebody in your district if you want to talk with them about getting a school-wide account. We'd love to do that. And where can you learn more? We have a YouTube channel, and we also have this whole series that we're doing right now, these sessions that we're calling Padlet Academy right now. And so I just put a link in the chat to that. We're going to have a series in March all about AI that I'm super excited about. Sue's actually going to come back for one of the sessions and talk more specifically about AI and education and ed tech. And we always have sessions on getting started with Padlet. Tosh does a great session on live help. So if you have specific kind of questions, and those are a lot of really interesting questions that other people have as well. So we have them at all different times because we have users worldwide. So we want to hit kind of different time zones, but we also have the recordings if you're not able to come live. So yeah, please keep an eye on that page and come to our future webinars. And yeah, if you want to go to that last page, we would really, really love your feedback. What did you like about this session? What could we add or do differently? And also an area, if you have any suggestions for things you'd like to hear about for future webinars or future sessions with us, we'd love to get the most topical things for what you're dealing with and what you're most interested in. So thank you, everybody. And yeah, are there any other questions? I see one question in the chat here. Yes, so the question is, are there reduced cost plans for community organizers? Yes, we can definitely work with you if you're a nonprofit, and we can figure out a good plan for you and figure out if we can do some discounts or things like that. So book a demo with us, go to that page and you can click on that link, and then, or you can email us also at hello@padlet.com and we can connect with you. Thank you again to Common Sense for joining us today and showing us how your content would kind of connect with Padlet and make all of these features that we're always developing. We love to see it like come to life in this way, to have really deep and meaningful conversations with students. So it's really lovely to see that all happen. And thanks for all of you for joining us and participating in all these activities.
Thank you. I'm not even good at this yet. And like, I mean, this is just me just messing around a little bit. Wait, just wait. I'm going to get much better. And then I'll come back and we'll do it again.
Yeah,
well, thanks all for joining us. Yeah.
That's another thing that I love about Padlet too, is that I don't think you have to be an expert to do really cool things on it. And I think you just modeled that perfectly. I mean, you did great. And you, like you said, you just kind of started up and tried some things, and you can get students' ideas as well, and you can try things with them. And Padlet is really quick in that way. I was just talking with a teacher the other day who said, I can do something on the fly. I sometimes do it in the passing period between my two classes. I think, oh, a Padlet would be great for that. And I put one up, and then that's our opening activity for the day. And I think Padlet is great like that. You can spend more time on it and really develop something, or you can do something on the fly because you think it would be a great fit for a discussion you're having or something you're doing in class.
Yeah, I didn't even use any of the breakouts like that. That's what I was kind of playing with for a session that I'm doing tomorrow, is just being able to isolate and being able to like just keep people focused. I think that's part of it, is there's so much going on with some of these sections, and I just want to be able to keep people focused in one area. So that is what I'm next presenting. I'm trying to think about like, how do I use this for a presentation? How do I keep people focused in one area and moving on? So you will see more. You will see more. Yeah. Anything else? We all good?
Yeah, thank you everyone so much. Yeah, we'll end it there, but yeah, please reach out to us with other questions. And thanks again. It was really fun to play around with Padlet today.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all soon.
All right, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.